Georgia's defense against Florida. Thought you were getting DJ Lagway and did early in the game. Then you end up with a first-time player that was a transfer from Yale, that was a walk-on at Florida. It ended up being kind of an ideal situation for Georgia, but still some things that Georgia needs to improve on in the run game. This is Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com, presented by Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce, Breda Pest Management, and ASW Distillery. Brent, overall, I mean, Florida still scored 20 points in this game. So this is not a perfect effort from Georgia's defense, but I don't think we ever saw Georgia getting exposed other than a couple of we'll show Malachi Starks. I mean, that was
right.
A critical mistake.
What's going to be interesting, and I don't know if you've ever, if you follow, I think it's Statso War at Parker Fleming on Twitter. He always posts a graph on either Monday, I think usually Monday after the game. How bad did we get beat? And it's basically a sort of success rate, like yards per play difference. How bad did you really sort of dominate the game? And you might see a game that's a 3-point game, but a team was way up higher on that list, and they dominated everything in the game. It just didn't happen that the score was in their favor.
Yeah.
This is kind of what this game was. Florida had 259 yards. 43 of that was in one play. Another 40 yards was on the drive right for the field goal right before the end of the half. Like, you're looking at less than 3.5 yards of play. So in the totality of the game, Georgia dominated the game, but Florida made a play here and there, got a first down here and there, and then obviously Georgia gave it to them that just kept them around. But for the most part, you took care of business. Though it was the Lagway injury is obviously you can't quantify that because of what he meant to them and the talent gap between him and the next guy, but you got to play who's on the field.
This first play, I actually love offensively from Florida on a 3rd and 4 play here. This hand off the edge of the screen, you'll see this communication of hey, coming your way. And this is just a zooming receiver this way that ends up being Chris Cole in coverage.
I'd be curious to know who he's communicating that to specifically, because he's obviously passing off in some level man coverage because you have a single safety. Everybody, Everett to the left side of our screen, the defense is right, it's playing man. At the point there, Malachi's in man on the tight end. So the one who I think it's one of the linebackers potentially that's getting passed off to. But a couple things. One, Chris Cole here, see him, let's go back to the snap. He's the one right there at the hash. Backpedaling massively. I don't really know that because his counterpart is not necessarily doing that. But the most impressive thing from this is the closing speed and finish. He got there and finished and almost stopped them from getting a first down. But physical traits with that dude are impressive.
I just love the zooming little short slant across the field. I'd like to see Georgia adopt some of that. Can you get through some traffic cleanly and just zoom to the other side for an easy 3-4 yards? I mean, that.
They run it a lot with their mesh concepts that we consistently talk about, but not necessarily like Florida ran that here. But one thing that you hear consistently that, hey, miscommunication. Well, that's, you got the point, and you got however it is that you communicate, because Humphrey, by the way, doesn't necessarily, I don't know what he even really does. He just kind of floats back. Maybe helps on the helps on the deep route with the ball. So where that communication, and by the way, guess who motions a lot, especially when they're not running tempo? That would be your next opponent.
Ole Miss. Now we have a little toss to the left here on 1st and 10 out of the pistol.
So this is just hard to defend because, and this is what you're seeing. This is the Falcons, by the way. So pause it here at the snap. This is, I would almost guess, stolen directly from what the Falcons have been doing recently with Charlie Warner, where you have a balanced formation. So you have 2 receivers to each side. You have a tight end on each side, and the back is in the pistol. There is no sort of right-left call here. Now you're only saying, and the ball's almost directly in the middle of the field, so you can't even go field boundary things. So Georgia lines up as a balanced defense. The 2 corners, the 2 safeties, nose, 2 D tackles.
I have some communication with Chaz here.
Outside backers, like this. But the late motion, and then you get this wide outside zone, stretch zone, how tall, all it's all the same stuff. it's hard to defend because now the gap integrity that makes you keep. Because watch, if you make one false movement here, the person who watches is your stack house in the middle. He makes the center, by the way, for Florida is actually really good, very solid player. But right there, when he swims and tries to, and the center's like, okay, sure, you want to stay inside. Now he's created a natural hole with the way they're just sort of pushing everybody. It's like Missouri, when Missouri would have success against Georgia, this is that wide zone game that's just it's tough to defend.
And Florida didn't do a whole lot early in this game, but this is after the first, in the second quarter now. So after the first Carson Beck interception, Florida gets the ball in good territory, good field position. And then this is all about Malachi Starks.
Yeah, sudden change. You know, we always talk about sudden change, and teams are going to take a shot, and they play action off a counterplay. And this is, by the way, this wasn't any sort of true run option. They're pass blocking. They're not running the football here. They're throwing it. They're just using that action to do it. And the thing that I like watching this that I don't know, which by the way, Ole Miss is probably going to try to steal this because they run a lot of the similar action and potentially similar plays. I haven't looked specifically as much at them this year, but I don't know if he's thinking he has to help on the crossing route from 88. Right there, kind of, because it almost looks like he's wanting to come to meet that space. But once he steps, because interesting, like look if he's at the same depth as KJ Bolden. Like if he's where KJ Bolden is, Lagway's now checking that down or throwing it away or taking a sack, basically. And they counted on you being aggressive, and you were, and they took advantage, which, by the way, he put this ball in the money, too.
How about that two-play swing? Just turnover, touchdown, boom.
Kid throws a great deep ball. By the way, I can't remember who that was winning on the interior there. It was a good pass rush win. Is that Christian Miller? I can't tell.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard to tell the number.
No, is that Michael?
I can't tell the number on that. I'd be
I think it's Michael
for sure. So
I remember in my notes, didn't have it written down.
Brent, I'm rarely one that gets on here and is like, "Oh, they miss holding calls. They hold on every play." That's it. I just usually don't get in that lane. Here.
So what's interesting? I went and watched. I've watched the majority of the defensive game, except for like the last few plays, and all of the offensive game. There is legit holding on every play.
Yeah.
And here's the key: it's not just the offense. A lot of times it's the defense that's doing a holding too on twists and games to get the offense off of it. But yeah, you've got two of them here.
Yeah, I mean, you see the exasperation right here.
The thing with it, and that's hard about this. First thing is, I think this is actually good by 94 here, who's the left defensive end, the inside of the tackle right there, comes off. This is not something he's normally Xavier McLeod. Boom, he's got to kind of set the edge right there and then shuffle and surf and not just start going down the line the other way. So it's just an easy read for the QB. So he at least give. But this is just also one where ball's patience. Like his patience kind of won the rep in a way. And obviously with the it's not really played badly. You just got to get off blocks, and if you're going to get held, you better sell the I don't know what out of the holding and act a little bit. Or if you're Damon Wilson specifically, like 10 as the right edge defender right now. So a couple things with this too. One, Stackhouse, I think it's Christian Miller. Once you've got that void right there, I don't know why he doesn't want to get vertical, like really get up the field. He's trying to just play the line of scrimmage there. Just get up the field and cause disruption. But when you're at where Damon Wilson is right there, knock the guy's hands off. If you got to assume they're not going to, you have to play like assuming they're not going to call the holding. Yeah. So ditch the hands, go make the play.
You know, when we were doing the watch along, is a different play that we didn't show here. The penalty on hands to the face, where the guy just like starts looking to the sky.
That was so ridiculous.
And the hands are up high. Yeah, there was some. That was a first for me. And I wonder if you'll start seeing players.
Oh, there's going to be gamesmanship like crazy. But like Ball, for the most part, he had a big game against Kentucky. 17 carries for 64 yards, a long of 11. Like for the most part, they handled him. 24 was a little bit. He got going Jackson, but Ball was handled for the most part.
All right, 2nd and 3 here. We do have Jalen Walker at the edge.
And this, by the way, Brinson just almost completely blew this play up. Seven's not going to be fond of me today. I'm not. Dude made a physical play where they called targeting and then it got overturned. But outside of that, tackling was not good. What's hard here is, all right, so let's look at the defense at the snap. So instead of you've got your sort of base defense on the field right here. 2 safeties, 2 corners, 2 outside backers, 2 inside backers. Because Michael's in a 4-down position over the tight end right there. But you've got a 6-man front with Jalen Walker lined up on the edge here. So what is he's got counter coming at him. The left guard is obviously pulling because he's borderline not even on the line of scrimmage again. So what's he going to do? He's going to spill, right? So he hits that guy's shoulder where the back gets spilled, but he's spilling. He's like, okay, I'm spilling to somebody. When in this case, I thought CJ Allen was late to get over. And then also KJ got stuck he dipped his head inside. So he gets blocked a little bit. And then KJ gets blocked a little bit. And now it's just a bigger gain. That's a horrible effort on the outside too.
And we're showing this because Florida was one-dimensional a lot in this game. And they were still getting very, I don't want to say gash rush yards, but they were getting consistent. They were moving the chains and getting 6-7 yards on carries.
Yep.
And we're trying to show you how that happened and why that happened. And in this case, it's multiple guys either not making a tackle in one case or just not moving toward the flow of the play.
And you almost, like I said, you almost blew up the play from the beginning. Like the fact that the play even happens is amazing because Brinson was so quick in the backfield.
Yeah.
Heck of an effort from Damon Wilson right here.
Yes, Damon Wilson is fantastic here. Boom, boom.
The QB change happens. You get 3 points because of this effort, helping him pin him back further. And kind of like we talked about on the watch along here, if you don't make that play and somehow they get outside, that's not good. But if you're going to do that, you go make the play. And if you're going to go make plays like that, fine. I'll give you the freedom to do those things. Now, 3rd and 9, you ideally don't want there, but you're running the ball, and maybe they get it because you get a bust, you run into each other, you get outside, something like that. But this was probably the part that was most frustrating for Georgia fans. After getting the field goal, they have, I think I was going to look back and see when it was they got the ball to start with. I want to say like 50 seconds.
Yeah, around 50 seconds is what I had in my head too.
Yeah, first play was with 30 or 43 seconds.
Okay.
So, and then this. And you got back-to-back, you got an 8-yard run and this 18-yarder. And this was one of the most confusing things I've ever seen from Georgia's defense. So
CJ Allen.
What's he doing? You've got a blitz off the defense's left, the offense's right. So, boom, you're bringing that edge guy and the safety. You're in some level of man coverage with the single middle of the field defender as CJ Allen that you're doing there. But the one that's most confusing to me is with all of that, Gabe Harris, usually like you watch Gabe Harris along the defensive front. So we'll go back to him. So he's the right defensive end right there by 58. Watch him work big time inside. And usually to me, if you see this from Georgia's defense, you see somebody coming out. But you just get washed, and now you got Ja'Cory Thomas as your edge defender.
Well, and the combination of these things of you're getting washed here, and then CJ Allen is running back this other way.
And then also, like, to me, Jalen Walker should be screaming into that hole, and he's kind of shuffling and waiting. But, yeah, they gassed you there. And that's one where it might be just specific to the situation and time on the clock, and they're thinking, okay, they got to put the ball in the air a little bit here. but they still had one timeout. Yeah, they got you there. That was a lot of time. That's one time where their play call beats your defensive call, and that happens.
And when that happens, it makes the defensive call where we're just both puzzled of like, what was even the goal here?
And I'm not. I will say I'm not. Nor have I ever been Mr. Defensive Call guy, call expert, and exactly what's going on here. I'm more of the offensive guy, but I usually understand what's going on. This one I didn't.
Their quarterback, I kept saying, and Coach Donnan corrected me. I kept saying, "Oh, you can't throw it." And really, what was a better way to say it was they had not proven that they could.
It's not a strength. Yeah,
on this play, he did,
and he did because like this is just. I hate to use this word, but this is lazy coverage. Like, know the situation. Be more physical.
It's still just a really good throw.
Yeah, it's a great throw and catch, but you offered no resistance.
Yeah,
and it's almost like he didn't think the ball would be thrown.
I mean, I thought that
not physical at the line of scrimmage, not physical at the catch point. And if I'm using those words, what do you think a certain head coach who's coaches DBs is words he's going to use?
And then they ran up and did the spike out of the shotgun, which is kind of looked wonky.
Always interesting.
And got the 53-yard field goal to go up 13-6 at the half.
After that, though, for the rest of the game, we always said, "Hey, can he make one play?" He made a couple because they obviously got the 20, or he made a couple plays because they obviously got the 20 points. But this is one where he's not Lagway.
No.
Decent athlete, but also that's just great work from Dayne Everett. It's great work from Michael Williams. It isn't, however, great work from Jalen because like Michael's got the back. Why is he taking that step towards the back right there? I didn't get that because he kind of like he's the straight backer here. And it's a great job by CJ Allen seeing it, what's going on, being there. Dayne coming off, being physical. But Jalen took that false step to try to, I don't know if he's trying to get around the blocker, think what he saw, but still, good job. Overall, no first down.
Not a first down.
Moving on.
Now, here is a first down on a run here from Florida. Running to the right and then throwing.
This is kind of just bad luck because you design your defense to where, boom, come in, and then you got that. If the guy scrambles, he's right into the face of Damon Wilson, and he trips. Like, as he's coming around, so he comes in as he's there, kind of, I don't know if he tripped on the player or if the blade of grass got him. Either way, he's there, and that allows the QB to have some sort of window because what's fun to watch here is, all right, so pause it there. Go back to the motion a little bit. So you're in a non-bunch set, and then they motion into a bunch set. So you've got the point person, so which is, I think, is that Malachi? Because we're in the second half. Pretty sure that's Malachi with the white things on his arms.
Yeah, that's Malachi.
So as the point person, he's got that point person in the bunch, man to man. And then you see the DBs pointing inside. Hey, you've got the inside release. I've now got the outside release. Great job by Julian Humphrey. Dayne Everett, though, overplays the release. Boom, tries to get over top of that because it is 3rd and 10. And then guy spins back out. You ideally have the great defensive call for this and play it really well. You just get bad luck with the trip of your DN because if he stays on his feet and the QB rolls right into that, it's big time trouble. You don't get that off at all.
Now we have 2nd and 12. And I had this as Dan Jackson and Harris kind of getting caught up in the same spot here.
Dude was really physical in that play they call targeting. Outside of that, that doesn't work. Now let's look at why. So pause it here. So this is one where we've got. This is another sort of folks thought, hey, Ingram Dawkins was getting held. This is always one for me where formationally I understand, but I don't understand. You've in essence got a 3-4 defense here with Dan Jackson as your outside backer. but you're playing where he's off. You're playing a 4-man front. So this, you got an over front here where the three technique between the right tackle and the right guard, and then you've got Ingram Dawkins as the outside defensive end, but sort of in a down position as opposed to either widened out in more of a wide 9 technique or a wider technique. So, hey, I just always think Georgia oftentimes gets hooked and gives up the edge a lot of times in that look because teams do this to them. And if you don't replace the crack block, so now you got split flow away, which, by the way, kills Jalen Walker. We'll get to that in a minute. But so the receiver's coming down on Dan, boom, crack. You've got to now replace, if you're Harris, like everybody who's played high school football has heard that term, crack and replace, and you don't do it fast enough because you're in man coverage. You see the follow. You've got to go inside. I can't remember what game it was. We talked about this with Julian Humphrey, where he's going inside so he can't help in the run because he's in man. He's got to play the receiver, and you just get outflanked. And by the way, Ingram Dawkins did get sort of the face mask grabbed and messed with it, trying to fix it, and it's like, hey, what's going on here? But alignment, you're still kind of hurt a little bit. Now, the one person to me that should be offering some level of help here is Jalen Walker. He's playing the split flow and just gets caught up in where he's the middle linebacker here, because Raylan's coming downhill a little bit more so, and you just get beat, and then that's a effort on trying to tackle.
Looking in on a positive note here.
Let's 100% in on a positive because this was freaking awesome.
CJ,
athlete, like not just to even knock it down, but to catch this thing. Which, by the way, this is what you get with the third string QB because this is actually open. Like if you look right, he should be boom, right, throw the ball right now. Like throw the ball into the voided space right now, but he's got to wind up and take a few extra steps to do it, and you get that play. Oh wow, that's a way to end it. I think Kirby actually talked about that being kind of that game-changing play because even though you thought, all right, 16, Aiden, I forget even what his last name was, but he's not going to lead him down the field. But you never know. You can trip and fall in coverage, and all of a sudden, it's a tie game again. You don't want to be in that point. So that was a definite exclamation sort of finishing point. And then Georgia scored with Phillips in the offensive one that we showed a little bit ago.
Here's our exclamation and finishing point. Supporting the people who support us: Breda Pest Management, Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce, and ASW Distillery. Check out all their products and their services, and you'll be glad that you did. Tell them that you heard about it on Film Don't Lie. Overall, Georgia's defense, I thought, still played a solid game. Things that need to tighten up a little bit because you're going against a much more potent offense in Ole Miss.
It's amazing. I think what makes college football amazing is think about what Georgia's going to do over the next 5. What the game they just played, and then the next 4 coming up. I'll talk about 3. But you go from true freshman QB who's throws the deep ball but gets protected in the run game, is a little bit of a run threat, to now 5th-year player or however long Dart's been there, that's experiences I'll get out, and one of the most experienced QBs in college football and dynamic offenses in college football, to the following week with Heupel and his fast-paced offense and all the things that they do and spread you to run kind of deal, to then Georgia Tech with QB run game and misdirection out the wazoo. It's just amazing how the EKG of the different types of offensive systems they're going to face. But obviously this week it's a whole different animal with Ole Miss. Now, granted, Ole Miss had kind of struggled prior to Arkansas, but when they get the deep ball rolling, it's a whole different offense. It's a avalanche offense.
And we'll preview that on Film Don't Lie. We'll also recap it next weekend when Georgia plays Ole Miss. Thanks, everybody, for watching Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com.